Hello everyone, I'm back with episode 5 of my 30 Days of Art video series. Today's illustration is titled Pearl. And although the original drawing has already sold on Patreon, I will be putting up prints on my shop at happyd-artist.com. And if you stay until the end of the video, I will have a special discount code for you guys to use to get a discount off of any order in my shop. Yay! So let's get started. For materials, I have this very basic mechanical pencil, this micron pen in size 01 black, this Blick Studio pencil in shade H, this General's white charcoal pencil for highlights, these Prismacolor color erase pencils. By the way, I will have all the names of the colors in the descriptions below. This Blick Studio marker and Copic marker in red and gray, and this really cool metallic gold marker from Pen Touch, this funky SpongeBob eraser that I got with my cousins in China, and this Uniball white Signal gel pen for highlights, and last but not least, this amazing blending stick. For this piece, I started off with a thumbnail sketch to measure out my proportions and flesh out my ideas, and I transferred the sketch onto this toned tan craft paper. I have another video detailing how I transfer sketches onto larger canvases, and I will link that on the screen right now and also in the description below. Today's drawing is greatly inspired by my Chinese heritage, and I thought it would be a nice challenge to try to tackle a different ethnicity and also some new cultural motifs. So I hope you guys enjoy this somewhat new style. And speaking of heritage, I think this is a nice transition into today's topic of discussion, which is another very frequently asked question, and that is, how do you teach yourself how to paint or draw? Because as most of you guys know, I am a self-taught artist, meaning I did not go to art school or have a professional art education. I took as many art classes as I could in grade school and in college, but I never had like a real professional art curriculum, and hopefully my story can offer some insight and tips for you guys, those of you who are looking to teach yourself as well. Like most of you, I developed an interest in art and drawing at a very young age. I think I was around 4 or 5 based on what my mom told me, and I would always doodle. I would have markers and colored pencils, and I'd draw on the walls, I'd draw on any paper or surface I could find, and I loved trying to replicate the characters I saw in cartoons or in books. And I didn't take my first art class until I was 7, and I was in first grade in Beijing at the time, and I remember the entire semester we were asked to draw from a still life, a plate of fruit, I think. And now this is China in the 90s, so it was very strict, and they didn't encourage us to draw funny cartoon characters. Rather, the teachers spent the whole semester coaching us on like perspective and shading and lighting and form and all these kind of very adult and very specific techniques. And I remember being a young child and being so confused as to why it was so strict and boring and why I wasn't allowed to draw fun cartoons. But I noticed at the end of the semester, I remember this vividly, my plate of fruit actually improved based on the lessons the teachers told me. So I actually ended up finding it really useful. And soon after, I immigrated to the United States, and I took an art class here, and this was like 2nd grade, I think. And I remember the teachers were so sweet and so kind, and they encouraged us to find our self-expression through art. They gave us all these Crayola markers and basically told us to have fun. And and I loved that too. It was so liberating, and I genuinely really enjoyed expressing myself. So growing up teaching myself how to draw, I kind of had a hybrid of those two different philosophies. I knew I wanted to practice my fundamentals, but I also wanted to find my own style and be expressive and unique in my art. And at the time, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Instagram, there wasn't a lot of social media, so I would often just go to the library and borrow art books teaching me about anatomy, about shading, all the good stuff, and I would just go home and read the books and do the exercises. So yeah, like teaching yourself how to draw isn't always fun and games. Like a lot of times it's kind of like forcing yourself to go to school and giving yourself homework. But since I had this interest in art, to me it never felt boring. Like anything I could learn was so exciting to me, especially when I could see myself improving from the exercises I was doing. That was so rewarding that it motivated me to just keep at it. I remember for like a year or two in middle school, I was really into Sailor Moon, like pretty much all the other girls in my grade, and I was so enthralled by that anime manga world that for a while I kind of put down my art books and just drew a bunch of anime and manga, and oftentimes they would just be copying the legitimate manga artist's work. And I love that I could fill up my sketchbook with all these cool Sailor Moon drawings, but then I realized I forgot how to shade properly, or I forgot my proportions, and it kind of set me back. And I think that was because instead of focusing on practicing the fundamentals and learning kind of the reason or the science behind how to draw or paint certain things, I was just copying other people's lines. And the manga artists who did the like official Sailor Moon art, they all have like the fine art chops. Like they all know about anatomy and perspective and the poses they did. Like they did it with intent. They know the math behind it. They know the angles. So, but for me, I was just copying it, not knowing why. And through that process, it really set me back. So after that, for the next year, I remember I had this book of geometric solids, and it was basically pencil sketches of like spheres and cubes and cones and pyramids, lit very dramatically. So I would just go home after school, and every day for an hour I would read that book, do the exercises, and practice my fundamentals again. And eventually I got back into the swing of things. And to this day, this is my philosophy in being a self-taught artist. I know the importance of sharpening your fundamental skills and doing the necessary studies and exercises to know and learn how to render things properly. In some ways, I think presenting a beautiful painting or drawing is kind of like writing a novel, a successful novel. One half of the components is to be able to come up with a creative plot and poignant characters and have an emotional connection to your reader. And the other half is knowing how to tell that story in language that is polished and eloquent and poetic. And only in this way can you really convey your story in the way that it deserves. So art is the same way. Having a creative concept and individual style is of course amazing, but being able to render the necessary details to flesh out your ideas and truly impact your viewer does require a lot of practice and sometimes boring work of repeating the same exercise over and over again. But it's necessary because I think having both skills, like both a creative skill and also the fundamental skills, will definitely help you become an extremely strong and proficient artist. And yeah, I hope you guys found this mini lesson and life story useful to and applicable in your art journey. Thank you guys so much for watching. As promised, here is your 10% off code for my shop. The code is PearlAndGold, and you can redeem it at happyd-artist.com on any order. And I'm super excited to continue on this 30 days of art journey with you guys. If you enjoyed this video and this series, please thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps my channel. The real-time version of this video will be out on my Patreon at patreon.com/happydartist. It's over an hour and a half long. And Again, I'm so honored to have you guys on board. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you for episode 6. Bye!